Misty Murray's story almost sounds like a happily ever after. Unfortunately, that just wasn't the case. Welcome to my channel. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and to an episode of Missing Kids. And today we are going to discuss the tragic case of the missing Mistie, a young teen who went missing. She actually vanished over 3 decades ago. And I find this to be so tragic and in its details and very mysterious as well. Misty Murray was born on October the 28th, 1978. And so she vanished in 1995, which made her 16 at the time of her disappearance. At 5'3" and 115 pounds, Misty was a very pretty and energetic young teen who was almost just as any other growing up in the 90s in my province, in the town of Goodrich, Ontario. And so the day that she vanished was a day, as all other cases, like any other, and she vanished on May the 31st, 1995, from her hometown after attending high school. Because of some of the details that I am about to disclose, she was classified by local authorities as an endangered missing girl. Still be alive, and I really hope she is. Her distinguishing characteristics are reddish-brown hair, grayish-green eyes, and a mole on her right cheek, and a very fashionable, trendy, and often much-desired gap between her 2 upper front teeth, just like Madonna. Her nickname is so cute, is Mistren, and I really like that nickname. She might use last names such as Oldfield, Kidd, or her birth name, Jean Marie Oldfield. And some agencies incorrectly gave her middle name as Lynn. And so I believe it might have been related to a job she would have had or something, I'm not sure. And so Misty had 5 piercings in her right ear and 2 in her left, but actually was not wearing any earrings at the time of her disappearance, as witnesses have stated. Sadly, but very bravely, Misty's biological mother, Darlene, gave Misty up for adoption in 1980 when she was 2 years old. And it's very sad that Misty's mother had to do that, but I believe that she really cared deeply about her daughter and wanted to make sure that Misty had the best of everything. Even more tragic is the fact that Misty spent several years in foster care before she was actually adopted by Anne and Steve Murray in 1983. And so one would assume that this would have been the wonderful and much needed happy ending to Misty's chaos that was needed to make her life complete. But it did not work out that well. And unfortunately, I did not research Misty's adopted parents. I did not want to taint my objectivity to you, but I feel that maybe something was amiss in their background. Maybe their motives for adopting Misty were less than honorable and very greedy and selfish. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to paint a picture, a background against which Mistie would have had the misfortunate opportunity to go missing. A well-cared-for teenager who's happy and well-adjusted doesn't vanish and stay missing for over 3 decades. Not often, but of course, just maybe, it was not related to Mistie's adoptive parents at all. And so I'm not sure. What I'm saying is, I don't know exactly who or what was involved in her vanishing. Her adoptive parents describe her as a friendly and outgoing teen who initially, as a child, performed well in school. But when she reached adolescence, she did develop some personal problems, and her grades began to slip and slide. And I believe that she actually may have been depressed and did lose interest in keeping on top of her studies. And so I imagine that all this trouble concerned a curiosity and unsatiated thirst for knowledge about her birth situation and her birth mother, Darlene. On that note, Mistie did eventually reestablish contact with Darlene Oldfield and did meet her in person 8 months before she actually vanished in May. And so, that is a key fact, and we don't know anything about the birth father, or if he ever even entered the picture at any point in Mistie's life, either before or after she actually vanished. They met up in November of that previous year, and so they actually, Darlene and Mistie had made plans to spend some time away on a weekend trip and actually spend the coming summer, together. And so I'm not sure if that peeved anybody or upset anybody, but that was the plan. So it was a common knowledge that throughout this time and around the time of her disappearance, Mistie did have an adult boyfriend, and his name was Jeremy Cook. And I disapprove, of course. I'm not sure if her adoptive parents objected to it or encouraged it. I have no idea. It just boils down to the fact that she obviously wanted to date Jeremy, and whether or not the adoptive parents objected, she was probably going to go ahead and do whatever she wanted anyway. Now, it just so happens that Mistie also had another man in her life, an adult man by the name of Steve, and that would probably not be the adoptive father, although I can't be 100% sure because the details in this article are kind of bleak and sketchy. But I'm betting that it wasn't the adoptive father. And so Stephen was a very unsavory character who caused the authorities to later on label Mistie as an endangered missing person. At the time that she disappeared, and even previous to that, Misty was attending classes at Goodrich District Collegiate Institute, and it was a secondary school in that town. And so the last day that she was known to attend would have been May the 31st. And so Misty was last seen over 3 decades ago on May the 31st, 1995. And she, she represents a very sad collection of cases which are very much like this. And they all seem to maybe have something in common on the surface, but we can't really be sure for certain. So I'm going to talk to you about that right now. This is a very tragic but typical story about a troubled young teen girl. On that last morning, she put on red shorts, black boots, and had rings on every finger. She had on a dark green nylon jacket with the name Mistie embossed on the right sleeve, on this sleeve, and the word flag on the left sleeve. This is probably very key to the whole mystery of Mistie's vanishing. On the day of her disappearance, while she was at school, Mistie took ill. Mistie fell ill and was sent to the nurse's office, where she visited the school nurse. And obviously, the reasons for that visit have not yet been made public, but I think that they are very key to the whole mystery that surrounds her vanishing. Today, around 3 p.m., Mistie did call her mother Anne at work, and she apparently did not actually physically reach her mother, but she did leave her a voicemail. And so Mistie, she did try to get in touch with her adoptive mother and couldn't. And so I'm not sure what exactly would have transpired had she been able to reach Anne. Of course, it's nobody's fault, but I believe that Mistie probably wanted a lift home, and she wasn't feeling well and needed to talk to her mother about something as well. About 3 p.m. that afternoon, and nothing has ever been concluded from that attempt to reach her mother. Mistie has never arrived home that day and has not been seen or heard from since. Investigators did initially believe that Mistie ran away from home. However, she had been, it's not a very plausible theory, although she probably did want to shrink and hide for a while. And if you haven't already guessed what the visit to the school nurse may have been about, I believe that Misty may have been expecting and was totally taken aback by that fact. I think that something else might have been going on in Misty's life that was much more traumatizing than simply being expecting. I believe that either she had been attacked or she was expecting. And I think that the circumstances that may have actually led up to this sort of condition might not have been in her, they might not have been voluntary. In other words, she might not have become that way simply by going too far with a boyfriend or whatever have you. It might have been a situation that was thrust upon by this gentleman, who may not have been a gentleman at all, by the name of Steve. And so I think I'm going to try to leave it there, because I don't want to influence or taint the facts of this case any further. Those are my speculations that she was in serious trouble, and the visit to the school nurse probably put the fear in someone. And, you know, I think that that contributed to her vanishing. I don't think that she vanished voluntarily. I don't think that she ran away. Anyway, let's try to continue on with some more of the facts. Investigators they discarded the theory of a runaway because she had been very excited about the upcoming weekend visit with Oldfield. And this would have been Darlene Oldfield, her biological mother. And so that's why I'm not too sure about why she would have vanished at that time. The timing is very, very curious, and makes me so suspicious of another person being in the picture that we're not really aware about at this point. Now, her packed suitcase was left behind in her room, and she vanished without even taking any of the belongings. And besides, she left $200 on her bedroom dresser. Now, if she had been robbed, maybe the money might have been replaced. I don't know. That's not a very good theory. I don't think that she was robbed and had the money on her when she went to school that day. It doesn't make sense to me. So I believe that, if she disappeared on her own, it doesn't make sense that she would leave those things behind. And she would have taken those things with her. So I think that there is foul play here. And had the money never been seen, maybe it would have been that it was a robbery gone bad or something like that. But the money was there. So, no, she wasn't robbed. She didn't run away. So this sounds to me as though it might have been an abduction, or maybe whatever happened at school that day, at the nurse's office, sent her right over the edge, and maybe she couldn't face anybody. But I have a feeling that someone else was involved in her life that we're probably not aware of. And so, as for alibis, Jeremy Cook, Misty's boyfriend, says he last saw her the day before on May the 30th, and he did cash a check and pay his rent that day. And so those probably would have been alibis as to what he had been up to. And so, however, bank records show that Cook actually cashed a check on May the 31st. So he probably got the days mixed up, or was probably trying to give the police an alibi and really couldn't. Of course, if he spent that time alone, he would have no way of giving anybody an alibi. There were reported sightings of Mistie at Cook's apartment on May the 31st or June the 1st. But these actually have not been confirmed, and it may have been that Jeremy was seeing someone else. Or maybe that this girl, whoever it was just not related at all to the case, or not even Mistie at all. So now Mistie had dark reddish hair and beautiful bluish green eyes, and so she would have stood out to people, to witnesses. But of course, many girls have darkish red hair and blue-green eyes. So it goes to say that we cannot confirm the identity of that other lookalike girl at Jeremy's apartment. Also, we're not sure or clear if this girl was actually inside of Jeremy's unit itself or simply around the complex. We're not sure at all. Sightings surfaced, and this is often the case after somebody transpires. The guilty party may put out some rumors and theories about seeing that person alive on a certain day, and we've had this situation with many missing girls, and Darlene Tucker is one example, and there are other examples as well, but I'm not going to start listing them all because I've forgotten their names. And if you go back to the cases that I did last year and the year before, you'll know that there were several young girls who were expecting and vanished. So that's what I'm talking about. Mistie was seen speaking with her friends several times in her hometown of Goodrich and in the nearby town of Clinton in the province of Ontario, Canada. In late June, there were other sightings of her in the Dundas, Adelaide area of London, Ontario, which is frequented by runaways and homeless kids. And so London witnesses reported that Mistie was unfortunately into drugs and other unsavory activities with men as well. And Mistie reportedly left London with her pimp because of the publicity about her disappearance. And so the police in Toronto, Ontario, reported seeing someone matching Mistie's description begging on the streets. And she may have been planted there. She may have been a lookalike, or she may not have been related to the case at all. We'll never know. And so since then, no sightings have ever been reported. And so authorities quickly did discard, and very intelligently, I think, the runaway theory. And in September of 1995, hold on, I've got the year wrong. In September of 1995, the police charged Stephen with murder of Mistie, and his trial was actually in 1997. Prosecutors stated that on the day of Mistie's disappearance, Stephen took her out of Snug Harbor into Lake Huron, murdered her, and dumped her body near the center of the lake where cold temperatures would keep it from surfacing. Wow. That's disgusting. No motive for the alleged crime was offered. Did they even find the body? What a theory to come up with. And my goodness, that would have been a false arrest. Did they not have any other tangible evidence to charge him with? How could that fly even? My mind is reeling with shock. No motive for the alleged crime was even offered by the police or prosecutors. Stephen did admit to going out on the lake the day that Mistie vanished, on the 31st, but he did claim it was only for a very short trip. And multiple witnesses did confirm that Stephen had only been on dry land at the time, and the prosecution instead said he was killing Mistie, and the jury took less than an hour to acquit Stephen of all charges. Wow. I admit that Stephen was presented as an unsavory character, but was he really a criminal, a murderer? And I think they went too far to charge him. They could have at least investigated the case and Stephen a little longer and come up with something more tangible and more intelligent than that. However, I believe that they probably had a hunch. But as you know, hunches often end up getting thrown out of court and lead juries and prosecutors into not being able to prosecute the second time for the same crime. So, yeah, that was not a good scene, to falsely arrest somebody without any evidence at all. Wow. Even if he sounds like he could have done it, or even if he was ethically capable of doing it, did he really do it? That's the question. Just like in the Maddie McCann case that we have been hearing about, all the charges were dropped because there was no evidence. That's the smart way. You don't arrest somebody, try them, and then look for evidence. That's not how it should work. Or at least not in the courts of Germany. Apparently, they did here. Get this. Investigators did search Lake Huron several times for Mistie's remains. They did state that, in spite of his acquittal, they still believe Stephen murdered her. Well, I believe in Santa Claus. That doesn't make him true, right? You know what I'm saying. Yeah, I don't want to comment anymore because I know that even if Stephen was guilty of other crimes, you need evidence in order to put this case to rest and give closure to those who really loved Mistie, which would have been her mother, Darlene, her biological mother, Darlene, and her adoptive parents, Anne and Steve. Not the same Steve that we're talking about in the trial. Oh, thank goodness. A later audit of the investigation into Mistie's disappearance criticized police for failing to follow up on the sightings. Yeah, because they were never confirmed, guys. And the leads that focused on the weak theory of Stephen's guilt. Yeah, it was a weak theory. Even if he was not a very nice person, you need proof to establish guilt, don't you? Yeah, that's how things work in the justice system, right? You can't just go ahead and, you know, hope for the best, falsely accuse somebody, falsely arrest them, and hope for the best. No, that would never fly, right? The Murrays did divorce after Mistie's disappearance, and in 2000, they held a memorial service for Mistie. In 2002, they sued the police for $2.15 million. And so what happened to Stephen? Did he even try to sue the police? I think he should have tried at least. Mistie does remain missing, and it is very unclear whether foul play was indeed a factor in her case. Now, she may have decided to vanish and leave her belongings behind to throw everybody off the track. We don't know. We don't know. Her adoptive parents do believe that she ran away from home, but is now not alive anymore, possibly deceased by other street children, by other delinquents. We don't know. Mistie's biological mother, Darlene, also does conclude that she is no longer with us. And so, what do you think? Thank you so much for listening and watching. And so this brings us to the end of another mysterious missing kid case. And I hope that whatever happened to her, we do find out the truth one day and put closure on this very unsavory and unfortunate set of circumstances. It's not a very pleasant case to think about. And so on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to you. And I'm very glad that you made it through to the end of this vlog. And so please, if you are not already subscribed, please consider subscribing because I have some other cases on the back burner for you. I'm editing them right now, and I think you're going to find those interesting as well. Coming up soon are some more kind of interesting tidbits about my home decor and home improvement projects. And yeah, that's been coming along slowly but surely. And so that'll probably be up next.